Wow, okay, diving into all this Tesla stuff you sent over has been, well, interesting. Articles, videos, you even sent over some interesting insider accounts. Really runs the gamut.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how tight-lipped they were in the lead up to this. Like, they went radio silent.
It's like they knew how to build the hype, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of hype, let's talk about the Cybercab. This robotaxi, the design alone, people are going crazy for it. Some people, at least.
Yeah, you're right. Some of what I saw, actually, now that I think about it, compared it to a Volkswagen XL1.
Interesting.
Which makes sense. To be efficient, streamlined.
Yeah.
Especially since as a robotaxi, you want to go as far as possible on a charge.
Right.
Keep those operating costs down.
Yeah, keep it lean.
Keep it lean, yeah.
But then on the other hand, other people were saying it looked like a shrinking Cybertruck.
Yeah, I saw some of that.
And not in a good way. It's like, how do you make a design so polarizing that even people within Tesla are kind of iffy about it?
Right. I mean, it's definitely interesting, and I think that's what they're going for.
For sure. But let's talk about what's really got everyone talking, which is what's not there. No steering wheel, no pedals. It's like they're saying, humans. We don't need no humans.
I know. It's a bold statement, for sure. Throws the whole regulatory landscape kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
From what I gathered, Tesla is basically saying, look, our autonomous driving tech is going to prove itself. It's going to speak for itself. They are aiming for next year, I think, for their regular models, at least in California and Texas, to start to have that fully unsupervised full self-driving.
That's a gamble if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
But speaking of gambles and tech and all this stuff, did you catch how they said the Cybercab is going to be charged?
Oh, yeah. The inductive charging.
It's crazy. It's like a giant smartphone on wheels.
Yeah.
No plugging in.
Yeah. Which logistically makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You've got a fleet of robotaxis potentially running 24/7. You can't be relying on someone to go plug them in. But on the flip side, imagine the infrastructure overhaul to actually make that work. We're talking inductive charging on a massive scale.
Right.
That's a significant investment.
Yeah, that's going to take some doing for sure. But can you imagine the convenience? I mean, it might be worth it. But I will say, one of the articles I was reading, one of the guys in there, he described the riding experiences being chauffeured around by my grandma.
Which, you know, depending on the grandma, could be either a glowing endorsement or a reason to be concerned.
Exactly. But I think it really speaks to what Tesla was emphasizing, which is safety. You know, Musk even went on to say that he thinks that these robotaxis are going to be 5 to 10 times safer than human drivers.
And this is where I think the massive amount of data that Tesla has really comes into play.
Yeah.
You think about it, millions of cars on the road.
Right.
All feeding back real-time driving data back to Tesla.
Yeah, right.
It's a gold mine for training those AI systems.
So every Tesla on the road right now is basically a coach for this future fleet of robotaxis. That's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it like that.
Right, and constantly learning.
Yeah.
Getting better.
Well, Musk did say that he wants to try and get these things into production by 2026.
Right.
And I say try because...
Let's just say he's known for his aspirational timelines.
He's a dreamer. Remember all those predictions about self-driving cars back in 2018?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he's even gone on to say that maybe he's a bit too optimistic with those timelines. But they do have 20 working Cybercab prototypes, which is nothing to sneeze at.
Right. It shows they're serious.
Yeah.
And this is just one piece of what he laid out, this bigger vision. And then you've got the RoboVan.
Yeah.
Now that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, so the RoboVan. From the images you shared with me, it looks like something straight out of like a retro-futuristic film.
Yeah.
Almost like Airstream meets WALL-E.
Definitely. Very retro, but don't let that fool you. This thing is all about functionality.
Right.
20-person capacity. I mean, imagine for public transport.
Oh, yeah.
School runs.
Imagine the field trips.
Oh, my gosh.
Even just like office commutes.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
And I bet businesses are drooling over the, like, delivery potential of this thing.
For sure.
Cutting down on those costs. But it's not even just like the practicality here, right? Musk kind of tied this in with this whole other idea he has about the future where individual car ownership is kind of, well, obsolete.
Right. The idea is that you've got these robotaxis for your quick trips, and then you've got these larger vehicles like the RoboVans that cater to larger groups, longer hauls, all that. And what this does is it opens up a ton of space in urban areas, in cities, because you don't need all these parking lots anymore.
That is wild when you think about it. Like, what could cities even do with all that extra space if we don't have to park cars everywhere?
Right. It's a huge opportunity. Musk talked about turning those spaces into green spaces, parks. I even saw some stuff about Like affordable housing, potentially?
So it really changes how we think about cities, and it can have a huge impact on air quality,
Yeah.
community development,
Yeah.
you know, all kinds of things.
Just our mental well-being in general.
Totally, yeah.
But this all sounds great, but it makes you wonder about everyone who makes a living driving those soon-to-be obsolete cars. What happens to all the Uber and Lyft drivers out there?
Well, the interesting thing is Musk actually addressed that.
Oh, really?
He sees a future where they kind of transition into these fleet manager roles.
Quite interesting.
So almost like if you were shepherds guiding their flock of autonomous vehicles.
Right.
So instead of driving one car, they're overseeing maybe a small fleet of vehicles, making sure everything is running smoothly.
So it's like that human element is still there, just in a different capacity?
Right, exactly.
It's a really interesting take, especially with a lot of people, being concerned about AI taking jobs. This is one way that maybe those jobs just evolve.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely going to see a shift in the job market. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
But this theme of AI, automation, it's not just limited to transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of leads us to that other big reveal, which was the Optimus robot.
Oh, yeah, Optimus. From serving drinks to maybe taking over the world, this thing has captivated everybody's imagination.
It has.
But, I mean, last time we saw Optimus, it was more of a novelty act, dancing around, pouring drinks. Sure, it was impressive, but not really ready to be taking on our chores. But this time around...
This time they unveiled a much more functional prototype.
Okay.
And the specs are pretty impressive. They're saying now that the battery life on this thing is a whopping 23 hours.
Wait, are you serious? That's longer than most of us can even function in a day.
That's right. It could theoretically work a full day without needing to be plugged in, unlike us human workers. And the processing speeds have been improved significantly, and they're aiming for a much lower production cost.
23 hours. Wow. Okay, so they're aiming for a lower production cost, too. Didn't Musk actually say something crazy, like under $20,000 a unit?
Yeah, I did.
Which is, I mean...
It's ambitious.
It's ambitious, to say the least.
There are some experts who are a little skeptical about whether they can hit that price point and still maintain the quality and meet those production goals, right?
Yeah.
Because he's talking billions of units.
Billions. Okay, so maybe let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But, I mean, still, even if they're just kind of in the ballpark, the possibilities, if they can pull this off... Right. Suddenly, it's not just robots in factories anymore.
No, exactly. He's talking about Optimus being everywhere.
Yeah.
Helping out around the house, providing childcare, elder care. I mean...
Hold on. Robot babysitters. Okay. That's a whole other deep dive right there.
I know.
Wow.
We could do a whole nother one on that. And it's not just, like glorified Roombas we're talking about here. He really sees a future where these are companions, assistants.
Wow. Robot companions.
Yeah.
I have to say, going through all of this stuff, my head is spinning.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's exciting, but there's also a part of me that's a little, I don't know. Is apprehension too strong a word?
No, not at all. I think it's completely natural to feel that way with the kind of upheaval that these technologies represent.
Yeah.
It's like we're standing on the launch pad. Liftoff is coming, but we're not quite sure where we're going yet. It's that mix of excitement and apprehension. That's the soundtrack to the future, I think.
That's a good way to put it, because it's true, right? But, I mean, where do we even begin to make sense of all of this? Because we're talking about these mind-blowing possibilities, but we're also talking about a lot of unknowns here.
And that's the thing, isn't it? That's kind of the beauty of doing a deep dive like this. It's not about necessarily finding all the answers.
Right.
It's about asking the right questions.
And maybe challenging some assumptions we have.
Exactly. Like take Optimus, for example. Right. You've got a robot that could potentially work a full day. Right?
Yeah.
For a fraction of the cost of human labor. So you have to ask, what does that do to the job market? How do we ensure that everybody has fair access to these technologies? It's a lot to unpack. And that's just the economic side. Then you've got the ethical consideration.
Right. Are we comfortable, for example, with robots taking care of our kids, taking care of the elderly, even if they are as advanced as Optimus is, slated to be?
And what about just like the overall societal impact? Imagine a city where instead of parking lots, it's all green spaces.
Yeah, it sounds idyllic, but...
It sounds great, but
yeah.
That kind of shift would come with its own challenges.
Oh, sure.
And opportunities, too.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's clear that this isn't just about cool gadgets anymore.
No.
We're talking about reimagining our entire world, our relationship with technology, with work, with each other. It's a lot. It's daunting, to say the least.
It's daunting, but it's also incredibly exciting. Because we're not just bystanders in all of this.
Right.
We actually get to have a say in how this future unfolds, right? We
Right.
get to choose which possibilities we embrace, which ones we maybe approach with a bit more caution.
It reminds me of that quote, I think it was Stuart Brand who said, "We don't have to predict the future, we get to build it."
Exactly. And that's what I hope you take away from this deep dive. Engage with these topics, ask questions, challenge assumptions, stay informed, be curious, and above all, be an active participant in shaping the future rather than just letting it happen to you.